From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. There will definitely be a lot of eyes on Montana in this November's election.
It is great to be back in Big Sky Country.
Vice President Mike Pence back in Montana, pitching for Senator Steve Daines and other Republicans who are locked in what are expected to be some very tight races. MTN's Gabby Crevitt caught up with the vice president in Belgrade, and she brings us their conversation.
But I'm here because Montana and America need 4 more years of President Donald Trump.
Vice President Mike Pence made a stop in Montana today to rally on behalf of President Trump and show his strong support for Senator Steve Daines running for re-election, Congressman Greg Gianforte running for governor, and State Auditor Matt Rosendale, who's running for Montana's U.S. House seat. In an exclusive interview with MTN News, the vice president said,
right after getting this president reelected, we need 6 more years of Senator Steve Daines in the United States Senate. And we need a strong conservative voice in the governor's office and in the Congress for Montana.
The vice president told the hundreds of people attending the event on Monday that it's all about continuing the president's agenda.
We rebuild our military. We revive the economy by cutting taxes, fighting for free and fair trade, unleashing American energy, and rolling back red tape at a record level.
The vice president highlighted the administration's response to the COVID-19 pandemic, a topic that continues to be controversial from people across the political spectrum. Another topic touched on by the vice president, wildfires raging across the western United States, and made specific note of the Bridger Foothills fire that started over Labor Day weekend in the Bozeman area.
We're encouraged that while the 28 homes were burned to the ground, that thanks to our first responders and quick action, there's been no loss of life. But we'll not rest, we'll not relent until we make sure that Montana, Oregon, California have everything they need to see our way through this extraordinary wildfire season and then rebuild.
Reporting in Belgrade, Gabby Crevitt, MTN News.
Governor Bullock responded to the vice president's visit to Montana with a statement saying, in part, I want to welcome Vice President Pence to Montana. Throughout this pandemic, I've worked closely with the vice president to advocate for Montana when it comes to PPE, testing materials, and the resources we need. Show of support from the Crow tribe at today's rally. Crow Chairman A.J. Not Afraid taking the stage and announcing that the tribe is endorsing President Trump and other Republicans. Coal is one of the main reasons why.
The Crow asks this lineup to help, which in the last 4 years, President Trump had endorsed and amended, executed the Terra Act, which enabled the Crow tribe into permitting its own mineral resources. That's been a long time coming. Now it's just up to the tribe to walk through that door, as well as Vice President Pence telling the Crow the war on coal is over.
Well, Not Afraid was among the tribal leaders who met with President Trump late last year when the president signed an executive order to address missing and murdered Indigenous women and children. State health authorities confirmed 2 more COVID-related deaths across Montana today, bringing the state total to 140 now. One of those victims here in Yellowstone County, the other in Lake County. Riverstone health officials tell us a man in his 70s died on Saturday in the hospital. So far, COVID-19 is tied to 52 deaths across Yellowstone County and a little more than 2,000 active cases across the state. And more confirmed coronavirus-related deaths in Wyoming. The Wyoming Department of Health says 3 Sheridan County residents have died and 1 Natrona County resident. There have now been 46 coronavirus-related deaths in Wyoming since the pandemic began. Even though wildfires across Montana are subsiding, the skies across the state are filled with smoke. Take a look here. That smoke even here in the Magic City due to the raging wildfires in California, Oregon, and Washington. Those flames have created some of the world's worst air quality levels in Seattle, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Portland, spreading unhealthy air conditions from Canada to Southern California. At least 35 people have died, and officials describe conditions as apocalyptic. On the weather scene today, it is a bit smoky out here. Nothing like in some of those other states, but we're feeling it.
Yeah, it's getting pretty cloudy up there as far as smoke's concerned. And take a look. Here's our smoke forecast. As you can see, this is what we are at 10 o'clock tonight. And as you'll notice, yeah, we are still looking at a lot of smoke across Montana. Watch this. We'll continue to see smoke kind of waft in through Thursday and Friday, all the way into Saturday, in fact. So we are looking at some scattered smoke throughout much of the next couple of days. Here's the way it looked in Helena this afternoon at the Opportunity Bank. Also, we're supposed to be able to see the Flathead Lake from here. This is Polson on their webcam, but you can't see it. This is St. Joseph Medical Center. It is just hard to see. It's just that smoky. Now, as you can see, we still have air quality warnings across all of western Montana tonight. Stays with us until about 8:45 tomorrow morning. Billings is not in that. But when it comes to air quality, check it out. The northwest corner of the state is basically unhealthy to hazardous. Meanwhile, in the Billings area, we've gone back down from unhealthy to moderate. So things are trying to improve a little bit, at least in the Billings area. We'll have your forecast coming up in a few more minutes.
Thank you, Bob. Cloth face masks are now a part of our lives, and one Billings doctor says they're better than nothing for filtering harmful matter. The Centers for Disease Control says cloth masks can only catch large particles, but will let smaller particles through that can irritate your lungs. You can limit your risk of smoke exposure if you stay indoors and limit outdoor exercise. Many air conditioners also have a setting to recirculate the air already in a space rather than pull it in from outside. So it doesn't hurt if you happen to leave your mask on while out running errands.
I think something is better than nothing. I wish everybody had an N95. I think we all do. But under the circumstances, I think if you can put anything over your nose and mouth, that'll filter out some of the larger particles, and no doubt some smaller particles will creep through and maybe irritate the lungs or bronchial tubes. But I have to think that something is better than nothing. And you may need to seek further care in getting an inhaler, or we have lots of other tricks that we can do to help people.
Dr. Fuller also tells us COVID-19 and wildfire smoke inhalation have similar symptoms, sometimes making it tricky for doctors just to sort out a patient's condition. We'll know tomorrow night the fate of the proposed Billings public safety levy, and that means, well, you have a lot less than 24 hours now to get your ballot to the Yellowstone County Elections Office. As of this afternoon, 29,000 voters have returned ballots. That's about a 50% turnout. The last public safety levy was 16 years ago. The new levy would allow the city to play catch up to fund police, fire, and emergency services. It's too late to mail your ballot. You'll have to drop it off at the elections office tomorrow. The 115th National Western Stock Show in Denver is being postponed until January of 2022. Stock show officials announced the move this morning, saying the COVID-19 pandemic doesn't allow for the stock show to host the event. Stock show chairman Doug Jones called the decision difficult, but said that the 2022 event will be stronger than ever. The stock show is the largest of its kind in the United States, typically draws more than 700,000 guests over 16 days. The only other postponement in the event's history came back in 1915 after an outbreak of hoof and mouth disease among cattle. The 94th Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade will be a television-only experience this year. That event will be stretched over 2 days with about 75% fewer participants, and there will be no live parade on the 2.5-mile route. The parade's trademark giant character balloons and even Santa Claus will still appear, but they'll be in and around Herald Square. And if you happen to be a Food Network fan, listen up. Restaurant Impossible is in Billings. Yellowstone County Commissioner Dennis Pittman says the series that helps failing restaurants turn around in only 2 days with just $10,000 is at Don Luis Mexican Restaurant in downtown Billings. Don Luis will host its socially distanced grand reopening tomorrow night at 7. Entry for a table at the grand reopening stopped on September 11th. Still ahead on tonight's MTN 10 o'clock news on Q2, campaign trails heating up. We're going to check in with Montana's Secretary of State race, where both candidates are concerned about election security. And in sports, Billings Central plays its football home opener this week, but not on its home field. Scott tells us why and what the Rams plan to do.